Well, hello and welcome to She Sells Radio. This is a solo episode for you, inspired by an accidental cruise that I took with our two little ones solo last week. So, yes, I will share more I actually haven't posted much on social about this at all at the time that I'm recording it because I feel like I'm literally coming up for air. But if you follow me on social or you more likely read my emails because I've emailed about it, and I shared a little bit of the story last week, you may know a bit of what's been going on, but comical, unintentional vacation. And it inspired me to record an episode for you today about what to do when things don't go according to plan. Because if you are like me, you love a plan. Now, I will say I used to be planny in the control freak. It has to go a certain way to feel okay type of mode. And I find that we serve in this community a number of women who can relate to that, where may identify as like recovering perfectionist or feeling or trying to control things, but not from a place of just like wanting them to elevate and be nice, and from a place of expansion, but more from a place of like needing them to be a certain way to be okay. So that's not the vibe I operate in anymore, thank goodness, because last week would have been insanity and so much harder than it was if that was the mode I was still in. But it was still very challenging and I learned a lot. So I wanted to share that with you here today. Recording this from my office, it's the type of episode where I'd actually like really like to just sit down and kind of chat with you as if we were at coffee or like over a glass of wine. The angle of the sun right now coming into my office, if you're watching the video, it's so bright, like right in my eyes when I'm sitting down because of the time of day. It's like 2 o'clock mid-afternoon, which by the way, in Maine winters, it's like the sun's about to set. It's 2 p.m. and the sun's about to set here. So my fellow northern friends know what I'm talking about. So I got to stand up for this one so the light's not blinding me, but we're here. And the boys just got back home. So you may hear a little bit of background noise. And that's okay. So let's talk about, I'll tell you a little bit about what happened. I'll tell you about some of the lessons I got from it, because I know that every time something happens that feels challenging, there's a lesson. There's always something we get to take out of it in order to grow. So I have been actively manifesting a cruise this year to go on, specifically because I wanted to take our 3-year-old Jack on a cruise. I just felt like he would have so much fun on it. I wanted to have that moment as a mama of like walking, you walk up I know it's called a gangway. You walk up the gangway and you finally walk into the ship and you just see how big it is and how expansive it is and all the things going on. And I wanted him to have that experience. And so since earlier this year, I've been visualizing like walking up that gangway with him and seeing his face when we finally stepped into the ship. And I just been going there like I knew it was going to happen. I wasn't really attached to when or how. Um, but I would just go there in my mind a couple times a week and just have fun being in the feeling of it happening. So when so much in our lives was in flux earlier this year, when we didn't think Jason was getting into school and we chose to move to a new place in North Carolina. And then 3 weeks later, he did get into school in Maine and we had to suddenly pivot and redo everything we just done. I wasn't sure how it was going to happen because so much of life was in flux. And I can't believe it was this same year that I was literally living solo in North Carolina with the boys. Also unexpectedly. No doubt there's some sort of great spiritual lesson that I can get from these moments where I keep like finding myself momming harder core than I planned on. But that's probably another episode for another day. So with that, I didn't know how it was going to come together to do the cruise, but I just knew I still wanted to take him on one this year. So long story short, it worked out that my dad and my stepmom could go with us on a cruise. in December, that this was like, I want to say like August, September timeframe, we nailed down a time to go on a cruise in December. And we knew that it was also the first week that Jason was going to be out of school and done with exams for his winter break. So I was like, perfect. That's, that's going to be a great way to celebrate the end of the school year and to just have us all like take a big collective breather. Plus, we had moved away from my dad and my stepmom in North Carolina. We hadn't seen them for a long time. So it was like beautiful. So we booked it, been getting, getting closer to the date. Well, gosh, now I'm recording this and it was almost 2 weeks ago that we found out. It was about 2 weeks ago that we were about to leave for the cruise. Try to make this really clear in my timeline. The night before we are supposed to go for the cruise. So we're packed, we're ready, we're getting up and hopping on a flight in the morning. The night before, Jason finds out that he has to stay back at school to retake an exam from his finals. Now, apparently, this is not that uncommon. And he did really well. He did really, really well. These exams are hard AF. Like, let's just call it what it is. They are, I'm glad it's not me taking them. They're hard. He's crazy smart. He did such a good job. A lot of people had to stay back and retake something. So, but in my mind, I was like, no, like, it's just, there's no way that's going to happen. I've been manifesting this all year. It's going to go this way. He's absolutely coming on the cruise with me. There's no way I'm insane enough to try to do this without him there. Well, plot twist. So we find out he has to stay back. It's like the night before we're sitting down at dinner and he gets this email that he has to retake the exam the middle of the week we're supposed to be on the cruise. And I was like, you've got to see if you can push back and get the retake rescheduled. Well, he tried, to his credit. Turns out medical school is pretty strict about their deadlines and their timelines, which is understandable. And they were like, nope, sorry, should have planned it for a different day. So I had a moment, I regrouped. I was like, okay, I can do this. Everything is always working out for me. We'd been talking with Jack about this cruise so much. I was like, there's no way I'm going to cancel it. I thought about not going, but then I thought there's no way at this point that I'm going to cancel it. Plus my dad and stepmom were still going. So I was like, okay, I will make this work. So Jason actually flew down with us to Florida, which was really great because he helped me through the airports and everything. He flew down to help me get to the point where I was getting on the boat with the boys. That was really lovely. And then from there, it was me and the boys and my dad and stepmom. Now, here's where the further plot twist happens. So I have a couple days with my dad and stepmom there. It's lovely. We're having a good time. Now, my stepmom has some health issues, so it was still a lot of me taking care of the boys. My dad is taking care of her, which is totally okay. He's he's a really great provider in that way, and I really respect that. And it was still feeling pretty heavy. I'll just say that. Taking care of both of their needs and being, especially if you've done bedtime solo with both kids in the same room when they're really young, that was a new one for me. I had done, and I know, I know every parent out there has their own things they get to go through. And I know there's people listening who would love to have a kid. So I want to like, so be conscious this is not a complaint fest. I'm trying to hopefully make light of this and provide some humor in this with the understanding that, my situation is really good in life. So I hope that is clear in what I'm saying here, but putting them to bed together in the same room at the same time without help was another level. I definitely had some moments of just, I gotta cry and let this out because this is pushing me in so many ways that I have not been pushed in a while. But it's okay. We figure it out, right? We figure it out. So I think it was day 3 of the cruise. My dad starts feeling sick and he's like really feeling sick. Like I can tell. Sure enough, he tests positive for COVID. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. He tests positive for COVID, and he and my stepmom have to quarantine in their room for the rest of the cruise. It was a 7-night cruise, by the way. They've got to quarantine. They can't come out. And when he sent me that text and I read the text that said, "Oh, I tested positive for COVID," I I just took a big breath, and it was like, okay, those moments when things really don't go according to plan, but there's nothing you can do about it. And the only thing you get to choose in that moment is your attitude and how you're going to approach it. Well, I got to really practice that. And so there was almost I found that when I was like hoping for help from them, but they weren't able to provide it because my dad was needing help with some medical stuff, it was actually almost even a little bit more challenging than when I just knew there was no help and that I was going to need to be okay with that. So from that place, I think this is for any of us, we can kind of relate to, like, when you're in the in-between with energy, it's actually harder than when there's just like a decision that's been made, or there's just clarity of either like, this is happening or it's not, right? And we can all move on. So there was almost a sense of like, okay, now I just know it's all on me and I need to rise to the occasion. And there was some help in that knowingness. And it got to be a really interesting, sometimes very intense remainder of the cruise with just me and the boys. I would never knowingly take a solo cruise with a 3-year-old and a 9-month-old ever in my life. There was one moment, oh man, if he listens to this when he's a lot older, he's going to be mad at me, but it is what it is. There was one moment when Sweet Jack he was having like a full-blown tantrum, and it's a lot. Like, it's a new environment. Daddy's not there. The schedule's off. He's like in this little room compared to where he normally lives, with me and Luke, his little brother. But he was having a full-blown tantrum, and at the same time, Luke was upset, and I'm like, and we're in the room. Doesn't matter if you got a balcony. When you're in a cruise ship room, it's still like, like, I need some air, I need some space. And he was losing it, and he was like ripping stuff off the bed and throwing stuff. And it was one of those days where, like, I just hadn't had a break. It was midday. I hadn't showered. I usually figured out how to get some exercise and my meditation in the mornings. I don't think I'd done either of those that morning because of the way their waking schedule was. They just both woke up really early that day. And I was like, I'm going to lose it. I'm going to lose it. And I called Jason, I FaceTime him. I'm like, I need your help. I need you to talk to him. He's like screaming bloody murder to the point where I'm like, the neighbors are going to think I'm like killing him in here. And it's just so loud, like losing it. And I'm like, I call Jason, I sit outside on the balcony. I'm talking to him. I'm FaceTiming him. And then Jack comes on the balcony and he's like, Mommy, I gotta go potty. He's like screaming. He's like, I gotta go potty. And I'm like, okay, give me a second. And before I know it, before I could even stand up, he's just he's naked peeing all over the balcony right in front of me. And I thought, this is the pinnacle. This right here is the pinnacle of this experience of how much more intense could it get. So that was an intense day. I think from there, it got a little more regulated. I figured out how to manage my energy better. And I figured out how to prepare for the energy of the days a lot better too, and how to prepare to navigate both of their needs as much as I could. But it was a doozy. I'm not gonna lie. I've never had such mixed emotions leaving a trip, where we had some really beautiful moments. Like, I had moments of just being so grateful to be their mama and have that time with them, and how much they both love me. And being privileged to go on this cruise with them and spend that time and all of that. So I literally had moments where I was like, gosh, this is amazing. And looking out at the water, and we were in St. Thomas and St. Martin, and it was beautiful. And then I also had moments where I was like, this is the hardest thing ever. Get me the heck off this boat. Like there were both. It was a both and. So leaving the trip, very mixed emotions. I did meet some of the most amazing kind. I felt like there were like angels all over the boat, usually in the form of grandmothers who were like, are you kidding me? You're on your own with them. Like, how can I help you? So I had amazing people that we connected with and made friends with. And our steward was so helpful. I'll say one thing, because it is, man, it's all perspective. Just talking with the people who work on the boat, so many of them, they've been gone from their families for like 6 or 7 months. And my incredible steward, he was so great. He was so great. Left him a generous tip and just wanted to like show gratitude to him for how he seemed to always be there when I needed help. He was just always there. He would show up just like an angel. But then I find out he's got 3 kids. They're like 16, I think 16 or 15, 11 and 2. And he and his wife were separated and he hadn't seen them for a long time. And he's on this boat away from them. And I was just like, man, it's all relative. Like it really is. It's all relative. So, I'm not coming to you on this episode with like 3 points that I've written down about what to do when things don't go according to plan. Although sometimes I like to think that way. Today, I just wanted to come and speak to you from the heart. But I think one thing that that just is coming to me so strongly for you right now is if you're in a spot where things feel really hard, it's all about context, right? So maybe things feel really hard or things didn't go the way you thought they would. Like maybe right now you're listening and you had a revenue goal for this year that you didn't hit and you're like nowhere near it. You know what? I bet you could either compare it to where you were 5 or 10 years ago and be like, holy crap, 5 or 10 years ago, if I had hit this goal, I'd be walking around like I was the queen of the universe, right? King of the world. I would have thought this was huge what I did this year. Or maybe not, but there's someone else who's just starting off. And if they had had the results that you wanted this year, man, it would be amazing, right? They would say, gosh, if I could only get there, that would be incredible. Or you find yourself in a situation where things didn't go according to plan. And you're like, you know what? I've got so many amazing things. Like focus on what you have. And you can always, it's all relative. So the law of relativity, you can use that to compare down instead of comparing up. So if we get focused on what we don't have, where we're not yet, what didn't go according to plan, then we're always going to feel dissatisfied. But if we can focus on what do I have? What did I accomplish? What is a blessing in this? Then we're going to feel abundant. We're going to feel grateful. And from that level of feeling state, we're going to think higher level thoughts that give us higher level ideas of actions we can take. And this is the mind body loop. So this is how it works. So that's one thing I think is just gratitude. It's kind of 2 things, right? Gratitude and then using the law of relativity in your favor. The other thing that I really got from this, and I was coaching some clients in a mastermind, the 50K club on this yesterday, is we had another mama in the group who got stuck on a plane, grounded for 2 hours alone with her 2 babies who are around the same age as mine. And I was like, ooh, at least I didn't have that happen. Like I didn't have that happen. Jason flew down and flew back with us. He actually literally flew down to Florida to pick us up and bring us back at the end of the trip. So again, it's all relative, right? It's all relative. But what I was working with her on and what I want to share with you here too is when we're in a situation that feels like it's pushing our edges or pushing our boundaries or things aren't going according to plan. And usually that's when we do feel pushed because we're only in resistance when things aren't going the way that we thought we wanted them to go. But there's always something happening to help you expand in that moment. So something that I see in our client base, in my own life, all the time is when we say yes to something greater, when we say yes to a bigger vision for our lives, when you say yes to earning 7 figures next year, when you say yes to building a bigger company, when you say yes to being top of the leaderboard on your sales team, to launching that coaching company, to finally believing that you can have amazing health, amazing relationships, amazing money, that you can have all of it, whatever the expansion is for you. When you say yes to that, guess what? You're calling in expansion, you're asking to expand. So you're going to get scenarios that help you expand your capacity. Does that make sense? So if we want to expand our capacity to receive, we have to expand the amount of energy we can hold. Because at the end of the day, it's all about how much energy are you flowing and how much energy can you hold in your space and in your being. So if you want to, let me try to think of some examples for you here. Again, it's some, I would say it's some of the examples I already gave, but like, if let's say you want to earn a lot more, well, guess what? Who is the version of you who earns a lot more? And what is her capacity or his capacity to serve and to show up and to be present and to be able to handle things that are coming at you? Because it's a different level than how you've been showing up in the past. So when these scenarios come up where things aren't going according to plan, we can either look at it and say, oh no, things aren't working for me, this isn't going to happen. Or we can look at it and say, what's the blessing in this? What's the gift? How am I being invited to expand so that I can have and hold the thing that I want, the results that I want? I shared about this on the podcast earlier this year, and I did an episode called What Didn't Happen, or What Happened When I Didn't Take My Own Advice, which is about what happened when Jason did get into school and we did have to rearrange our lives really, really fast. And you can go, I don't know the episode number, but it's sometime this, in 2023, you can just search the name. But I got strong this year. Like, man, I got really strong this year. I don't know about you, but there were things that happened this year where I was crying, like crying on the floor. Things that happened where I was like, there's no way I could, there were times where I didn't feel like I could survive. Like it literally pushed me to the level where I always knew, this may sound a little bit dramatic. It's like, there were literally moments where I was like, I don't know if I can do it, in various facets of my life, because it pushed all my edges. The things that happened this year pushed all of my edges. And I got really effing strong. So I want you to know, and can you relate to that? I'm sure you can in some way, shape, or form. So when those things happen that push your edges, that push your boundaries, where you want to throw in the towel, where you say, I can't do this, this is too much, it's too hard. You're being refined, my friend. You're being sharpened. You're being prepared. I'm getting full body chills while I say this to you. You're getting ready to receive the biggest blessing of your life. The thing that you really, really want. Because the version of you, the person who has that, the woman, the man who has that, has the capacity to receive and to hold energy at an even bigger level. And everything that's happening right now that's challenging you, that's refining you, that's pushing your buttons, that's having you question yourself, your capabilities, your worthiness, all of those things are happening for you to expand, to be able to live out your calling and your dream at the highest possible level. Are you getting this? Like, as I say this, I have tears in my eyes. I feel it welling up. I feel chills in my body. This is truth. This is truth. So just know in those moments when it feels so hard because things didn't go the way you thought they were going to go, it's all about how you look at it. It's all about your perspective, and it's all about the lens through which you're going to see it. So whatever part of your life this is calling to mind right now, I want you to really look at it through that changed perspective of, wow, what capacity is this helping me expand in my life in terms of capacity to have and hold money, capacity to serve clients at a greater level, capacity to love myself at a greater level. I was working yesterday with a private client and looking at her business plan. She's got a business plan to do $1 million this year. It's beautiful. I was like, yes, I love it. And you want me to tell you? I'm going to tell you the number one thing I loved about her plan. One of her core areas was love myself in terms of her core goals for this year. Love myself. And I was like, that's what I care about. That's what I care about. The $1 million will take care of itself. The clients will, they'll take care of themselves. Not that there's not going to be actions to take. Of course there are. But when that's your focus and your goal, and maybe there's a situation happening right now that feels really challenging that didn't go according to plan, but it's giving you the opportunity to love yourself more, lean in, my friend. That is a gift. That is an opportunity. That's what you're here for. That unlocks a whole nother level in your life, in your business, in your money, in your family, in your health. You will show up like a whole different person when you are coming to your goals from a place of self-love and enoughness rather than seeking validation. Is this making sense? Can I get a glory, hallelujah, amen? That's where I'm at right now. I will share pictures. Probably by the time you listen to this, they'll already be up. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. But I will share some photos and behind the scenes on social. I really gave myself permission this week coming back to just recalibrate, reorient, get things in order with my laundry, with our suitcases in my home, end of year stuff for the business. I'll share a bunch on social about it because we got really beautiful photos and there were really amazing memories made. And again, it expanded my capacity. So I wanted to share all of this with you today. The one other piece that I will share as well today before we close out, and this isn't like, there's not a beautiful tie-in for this. It just is, it just is the what's going on in She Sells land right now. So I will, I felt called to share this as well on the show today. So I am really looking to see in 2024, who am I going to serve at a high level, specifically in my 50K Club Mastermind. So we'll pop the link in the show notes for you so you can learn more about it. This is a high-level mastermind for female entrepreneurs and sales professionals who are already at the six-figure level, at least, who want to go to multi-6 or 7. And it is all about, it's a feeling first and foremost. I was thinking a little bit about it before I recorded this. Like, how do I describe the energy in this group and the energy of this expansion? To me, it feels like magic because the way that you're going to learn to ascend and to elevate in this group, it's not the hard work consciousness. It's not the push, the hustle, the force that so many of us use, whether that's just been our conditioning in the business world for so long, or that's how we got to our first 6 figures. And we think getting to 7 is going to be really hard because getting to 6 felt hard. That's not it at all. We incorporate science in the form of quantum physics, neuroscience, reprogramming your mind, your self-concept, your identity of yourself, to see yourself as someone who naturally and easily earns $50,000 plus per month, if not more, whatever your target is. So we build on that. We incorporate spirituality and principles of that to help you elevate with ease. We incorporate very high level strategies. So I bring in incredible teachers, guest mentors, people where it is a significant investment slash often impossible to get in front of them unless you have a really strong connection. I bring them in to guest mentor. We have 2 beautiful retreats, one of which is going to be coming up in Q1 of 2024 as well. So you can join us for that. And it's a very high impact, high access program as well. But I care very deeply about who is in that group and who my team and I are going to get to serve at a high level in that mastermind this year, because it is so much energy that we're pouring into you and that you're receiving. And it's really a co-creation process of you manifesting your biggest, best, most incredible career, finances, sales, and life, because we don't just limit it there. It's really about you expanding in all areas. So it's a very curated group. It's a very special, special group. I love the women in there deeply. And we're really looking to see who is going to be in there for 2024. There is an application process. And like I said before, we do limit the number who's in there because of the energy of the group. And we want to keep it, we just want to keep it a certain size so that everyone is seen and heard and really has that experience of the hands-on time to help them elevate. So if it's speaking to you, if you want to learn more, you can go to elisearcher.com/50K club. There's a link there to apply or to book a call. So you can check that out there. And if it's resonating with you and you want to connect with me about it and chat about it, again, there's links to chat and discuss. I think that's it for today. I think that's it. This should be coming out last week of the year. So if I don't record another episode for you before the end of the year, from my heart to yours, I am so grateful for you being in our community. I'm so grateful for the honor of your attention, for the gift of your attention on this podcast. I don't take that lightly. And I'd love to get to know you better and connect with you and see how I can help serve and support you on a deeper level in 2024. My team and I have so many, like, I can't even describe to you all the things coming. The flip side of the challenges of this year and getting really strong is like the downloads, the wisdom, the ideas, the things we're going to be implementing in the company are next level, because I've elevated so much this year and I'm going to be rolling that into everything we're doing. I've got a kick-ass team that's you're going to get to know better and better too. I'm just so grateful to work with them because they really help bring amazing things to our clients. And so anyway, we want to know how we can help support you and serve you. So always feel free to connect with me on social. I'm at Elise Archer. Send me a DM. We'd love to get to know you better and support you any way we can. Thank you again so much for being a part of the community. I think you're incredible. And cheers to a happy new year and an incredible start of 2020.